Ravi was a simple farmer who lived on the edge of a quiet village. His life was peaceful, filled with the sounds of birds in the morning and the rustle of crops in the evening. Every day he walked across his land, checking the soil, watering the plants, and making sure everything was safe. Farming was not easy, but he loved the feeling of working with the earth and watching seeds grow into food for people. One warm afternoon, Ravi noticed something unusual near the oldest tree on his land. The tree was huge, its branches spreading wide like open arms. It had been there since before he was born, and his father had once told him that the tree was older than the village itself. Children from the village often came to play under its shade, but no one had ever thought of it as anything more than just a tree. That day, however, Ravi saw something that made him stop in his tracks. While pulling weeds near the roots, he noticed a patch of ground that looked different. The soil was not as hard as the rest. It felt loose, as if it had been moved recently. Ravi bent down and pushed the dirt aside with his hands. To his surprise, he uncovered a flat stone slab hidden just beneath the surface. The stone was smooth, and there were faint markings on it that looked like symbols or letters, though he could not understand them. Curious, Ravi pressed his hands around the edges of the stone. It shifted slightly, as if it was not just a stone but a cover. His heart began to beat faster. Why would there be a stone like this under a tree on his land? He cleared more soil until he found a handle carved into the side. It looked like it had been placed there on purpose. Slowly, with a mix of excitement and fear, Ravi pulled at the handle. The stone lifted with a creak, revealing a dark opening beneath. A hidden entrance lay right under the roots of the tree. The air that came from below was cool and carried the smell of earth and age. Ravi peered into the darkness, unable to see where the entrance led. His mind filled with questions. Who had built this, and why was it on his land? He had worked this farm for years and never once noticed anything strange. Ravi fetched a lantern from his house. As he lit it and lowered it into the hole, the light revealed a set of stone steps going down into the ground. The steps looked old, covered with moss and dust, but still strong. His hands trembled slightly as he held the lantern. Part of him wanted to close the stone lid again and forget he had ever seen it. Another part of him, stronger than the first, told him he must know the truth. Something hidden for so long could not be ignored. He climbed down slowly, step by step, his lantern casting long shadows on the stone walls. The air grew cooler as he descended. The silence around him was heavy, broken only by the sound of his footsteps. At the bottom of the stairs he reached a wide chamber. The walls were carved from stone, smooth in some places and rough in others. Strange markings and drawings covered them. Some looked like circles, others like stars, and there were shapes that reminded him of plants and animals, but not in any way he had seen before. Ravi walked further, shining his lantern on the walls. In the center of the chamber stood a stone pedestal. On top of it rested a small wooden box, dark with age but still strong. His breath caught as he stepped closer. The box was decorated with patterns that matched the markings on the walls. It seemed out of place in the underground silence, as if it had been waiting for someone to find it. Ravi hesitated. He felt as though he had stepped into a story larger than himself. The box could hold anything. It might be valuable or it might be dangerous, but his curiosity was stronger than his fear. With careful hands, he lifted the box from the pedestal. It was heavier than it looked. He placed it on the ground and slowly opened the lid. Inside, wrapped in cloth, lay a bundle of old papers and a small metal object that glowed faintly in the lantern light. Ravi stared at them in wonder. The papers looked fragile, their edges worn with time. The metal object was shaped like a key, but not like any key he had ever seen. It had curves and lines that looked more like art than tool. His hands shook as he touched it. For some reason, he felt that this discovery would change everything in his life. Ravi closed the box and held it close to his chest. He knew he could not leave it here. Whatever this was, it was meant to be found. But he also felt a weight of responsibility. The underground chamber, the markings, the mysterious key and papers, all of it seemed important. As he climbed back up the stairs, the lantern flickering in his hand, Ravi felt his life had just taken a turn he could not yet understand. He had found a secret buried under his land, and what he had seen inside the hidden entrance was only the beginning of a mystery that would soon shatter the quiet life he once knew. Ravi placed the heavy box on the wooden table inside his small house. His hands were still shaking as he unwrapped the cloth from the old papers, The lantern light flickered gently, casting long shadows across the walls. His simple home had never felt so mysterious before. The papers were fragile, their edges brown and soft with age. Some of the words were written in a language Ravi could not understand. The letters curved and twisted in ways that looked almost like drawings. But on one paper, he noticed a few words written in the village tongue. They were faint but still clear enough to read. The words said, "For the one who works with the land, the truth shall open." Ravi read those words again and again. They confused him but also filled him with wonder. Why would something hidden under a tree for so long have words that seemed to speak directly to him? A farmer. He set the papers aside and turned his attention to the strange metal key. The key was unlike anything he had seen before. It was shaped almost like a leaf with fine lines carved into it. In the center was a small round stone that glowed faintly even in the dim light. The glow was soft, not bright enough to light the room but enough to make the key look alive. Ravi touched it carefully, half afraid it might burn his hand. To his relief, it was cool, smooth, and heavier than it appeared. As he held the key, something odd happened. The faint glow grew a little brighter, as if it was responding to his touch. Ravi's eyes widened. He turned the key around, examining it from every angle, but there was no hole where a normal key would fit. It was more like a symbol, waiting for a purpose he did not yet understand. That night, Ravi could not sleep. He lay on his bed staring at the ceiling, his mind full of questions. Who had left the box in the underground chamber? Why was the tree hiding the entrance? What was the meaning of the message on the paper? And most of all, what was the purpose of the strange glowing key? His farm had always been simple and peaceful, but now it held secrets that felt larger than the land itself. The next morning, Ravi carried the box with him and walked to the village elder's house. The elder Hari was the oldest man in the village and knew many stories about the past. Ravi respected him and hoped he might understand the papers or the strange object. Hari listened quietly as Ravi explained everything, from the loose soil under the tree to the hidden chamber and the box. His old eyes grew wide when Ravi placed the key on the table. The faint glow caught his attention at once. He leaned closer, studying it carefully. "This," Hari whispered, "is not something from our time." Ravi frowned. "Do you know what it is?" Hari shook his head slowly. "Long ago, my grandfather told me stories of hidden places under the earth. He said there were secrets left behind by those who came before us. People who knew more about the stars, the land, and the mysteries of life. I never believed the stories fully, but now, seeing this key, I wonder if they were true." Ravi showed him the papers. Hari traced the letters with his finger, shaking his head. "I cannot read this language. But these words here about the one who works with the land, they seem meant for you. Perhaps it is no accident that you found this place." The elder's words made Ravi uneasy. He had never thought of himself as special. He was just a farmer who worked hard to grow food. But now it seemed as if the discovery had been waiting for him. Hari advised him to be careful. "Do not speak of this to others yet. Some may not understand. Keep it safe, and perhaps the meaning will show itself in time." Ravi nodded, though inside he felt the weight of the secret growing heavier. He walked back to his farm with the box under his arm, thinking about the elder's words. The glowing key seemed to hum faintly, though he could not tell if it was real or only in his imagination. That evening, Ravi returned to the tree. He lifted the stone cover again and climbed down into the hidden chamber with the lantern and the key. The markings on the walls looked different now, as if they were alive in the light of the lantern. When he held up the key, he noticed something he had missed before. On the far side of the chamber, one wall had a small circular hollow carved into the stone. The hollow was the exact size and shape of the glowing key. Ravi's breath caught. His heart pounded in his chest. He stepped closer, the key glowing brighter in his hand. It was as if the chamber itself was waiting for him to place it there. For a long moment he hesitated. Should he unlock whatever was hidden behind the wall? The elder's warning echoed in his mind. But his curiosity pushed him forward. With trembling hands, Ravi lifted the key and slowly moved it toward the hollow in the stone. Ravi stood before the hollow in the stone wall, the glowing key in his hand. The chamber was silent, yet he felt as if unseen eyes were watching him. His lantern flickered as though stirred by a hidden breath of air. Slowly, he placed the strange key into the hollow. The moment the key touched the stone, the chamber trembled lightly. The markings on the wall lit up with a soft golden glow. stretching across the surface like lines of fire. Ravi stepped back in shock, clutching the lantern tightly. The glow spread in circles, each symbol lighting up until the whole chamber looked alive. Then, to his amazement, the wall in front of him shifted. The stone moved as if it were a door, sliding open without sound. Behind it lay a narrow passageway, filled with a pale blue light that seemed to shine from the very walls. Ravi's heart raced. He wanted to run, yet his feet carried him forward. The passage was cool and the air smelled cleaner than anything he had ever breathed. The walls were smooth and shone with faint patterns, almost like veins of silver running through them. His footsteps echoed softly as he walked deeper, guided by the gentle glow. After a short distance, the passage opened into another chamber. This new room was unlike the first. It was larger and shaped like a circle. In the center stood a stone table, and above it hung a crystal that floated in the air without touching anything. The crystal glowed with a calm, steady light, filling the chamber with brightness. Ravi's eyes widened. He had never seen anything like it. On the stone table lay more objects. There were rolls of parchment, flat stones carved with patterns, and a round disc of metal that looked polished even though it was clearly old. Ravi set his lantern aside, for the crystal's glow was enough to light the room. He stepped closer to the table and touched the metal disc. It was warm under his fingers, as if alive. The moment he touched it, the crystal above shimmered and a soft sound filled the air. Ravi froze. The sound was not music, but not speech either. It was like the hum of the earth, deep and steady, flowing around him. Then, slowly, the hum shaped itself into words. To his shock, he realized the chamber was speaking. The voice was calm, clear, and not like any person's voice he had ever heard. "Welcome, one who works with the land," the voice said. Ravi's knees felt weak. He gripped the table for support. "Who are you?" he whispered, though he did not know if the chamber could hear him. "I am the memory of those who came before," the voice replied. "We left these words for the one who would find this place. The earth has chosen you." Ravi's heart pounded in his chest. He looked around the chamber, half expecting to see someone standing there, but there was only the floating crystal, glowing calmly above the table. "The key has awakened what was sleeping," the voice continued. "You have taken the first step. What you do next will shape more than your own life." Ravi's mind swirled with questions. He thought of the elder's words, of the hidden box, of the strange markings. "Why me?" he asked softly. "I am only a farmer." The voice seemed to grow warmer. "The land knows you. You work with the soil, and you live with patience. Such hands are worthy. The secrets of the earth are not meant for greed or pride. They are meant for those who understand care and growth." Ravi's breath caught. The words felt heavy yet comforting. He glanced again at the objects on the table. The rolls of parchment seemed to glow faintly, as though urging him to read them. He reached for one and slowly unrolled it. The parchment was filled with drawings rather than words. There were shapes of mountains, rivers, stars, and plants. Some symbols repeated, linking them together like a story. Though Ravi could not read the meaning, he felt the drawings told of knowledge far beyond his understanding. As he studied the parchment, the voice spoke again. "There is more to see, but only when you are ready. Do not rush. Return to the land. Carry the key with you. In time, the path will open further." The crystal's glow softened and the hum faded until the chamber was silent again. Ravi stood still, his mind heavy with wonder. He carefully rolled the parchment back and placed it on the table. Though part of him wanted to stay and search every object, another part knew the voice was right. He was not yet ready to understand. He lifted the key from the hollow in the wall, and at once the glowing markings faded. The stone door slid shut, sealing the chamber behind him. The silence returned, leaving only the lantern light to guide him back up the stairs. As Ravi stepped out into the night, the cool air of the farm greeted him. The stars above shone brighter than he had ever noticed. He held the key tightly in his hand. Though he did not yet know what awaited him, he felt certain his life had already begun to change in ways he could not imagine. The morning after Ravi placed the key into the wall, he woke up earlier than usual. The sun had not yet risen, but the rooster's call pulled him from sleep. His thoughts went straight to the hidden chamber under the old tree. The memory of the glowing markings and the voice that spoke to him felt unreal, yet the key lying on his table reminded him that it was all true. Ravi stepped outside, carrying a bucket of water for his plants. The air felt different, fresher than before, as if the land itself had been washed clean overnight. When he reached the fields, he noticed something unusual. The crops, which had been slow to grow because of the dry season, now looked greener and stronger. The leaves stood tall and the soil felt soft and rich beneath his feet. He knelt down, touching the earth with his hand. It was moist even though it had not rained for days. A gentle warmth rose from the ground and he could almost feel a steady rhythm like a heartbeat. Ravi pulled back, staring at the soil in wonder. Could this be connected to the chamber he had opened? As he worked through the morning, more strange things revealed themselves. The plants were not only healthier but seemed to respond to his touch. When he watered them, the leaves turned toward him as though greeting him. Birds flew down from the trees, unafraid, chirping around him while he worked. Even the air felt alive with energy. Later that day, some neighbors passed by. They leaned on the fence, watching his fields with curious eyes. One of them, Mina, said, "Ravi, your crops look better than anyone's. How did you manage this during such a dry season?" Ravi smiled nervously. He could not tell them about the hidden chamber or the glowing key. "I just take care of the land every day," he replied softly. "Maybe it is only good luck." But deep inside, he knew it was not luck. Something had awakened beneath his farm, and the land was changing because of it. That evening, Ravi visited the village elder again. Harry listened carefully as Ravi described the changes in his farm. The elder's face grew serious, his old eyes thoughtful. "This is no small thing," Hari said slowly. "If the land is responding to you, then the connection between you and the secret chamber is real. The old stories said such places could bless the earth, but they also warned that not everyone should know of them. Some may see this gift as a way to gain power or wealth." Ravi nodded, understanding the warning. He felt torn. He wanted to share his discovery, but he also feared what might happen if the secret spread. For now, he decided to keep quiet. That night, he carried the glowing key with him to the field. The stars shone brightly above, and the wind whispered gently through the crops. Ravi held the key up, watching its faint light dance in the darkness. As he stood there, he felt a quiet presence around him, the same calm voice from the chamber echoing faintly in his mind. "Care for the land, and the land will care for you," the voice seemed to say. The days that followed only deepened the mystery. The soil remained fertile. The crops grew faster, and animals gathered near his farm as though drawn by an unseen force. Word spread in the village that Ravi's land was blessed. People came to ask for advice, wanting to know his secret. Ravi gave them simple answers, speaking only of hard work and care, never revealing the truth. But the secret weighed on him. Each night he thought about the chamber, the crystal, and the floating words that spoke of greater things yet to come. He wondered what the next step would be. One evening, after a long day of work, Ravi sat under the old tree. The box that once held the key lay beside him, along with the fragile papers. He unrolled one of the parchments, studying the drawings again. This time he noticed something he had not seen before. Among the stars and mountains drawn on the paper, there was a shape that looked exactly like his old tree, with roots stretching down into the ground. Near the roots was a symbol that matched the glowing key. Ravi's breath caught. The tree was more than just a shelter or a landmark. It was the heart of the mystery, a link between the surface and the hidden world below. Perhaps everything that was happening to his farm was because of the connection between the tree and the chamber. He closed the parchment and leaned against the trunk, feeling the rough bark behind him. The tree stood silent, yet he sensed strength flowing from it as though it was alive in a way he had never understood before. In that moment, Ravi realized something important. The discovery was not only about the past but also about the future. Whatever had been left behind under his land was now tied to him and to the soil he worked every day. The responsibility was his, whether he was ready or not. As the wind rustled through the branches, Ravi whispered to himself, "I will protect this land and its secret. Whatever it means, I will not let it fall into the wrong hands." Ravi's farm was no longer an ordinary place. Each day his crops grew taller and greener while the rest of the village struggled with dry soil and weak harvests. Birds gathered in his fields, animals came to drink from the small pond that never seemed to dry, and even the air felt fresher around his land. At first, the villagers praised him. They admired his hard work and called him blessed. But as the days passed, their curiosity grew stronger. People began to whisper among themselves. Some believed Ravi had found a secret way to improve his soil. Others thought he was hiding something valuable. One afternoon, a group of farmers visited his home. Mina, who had once spoken kindly to him, now asked more firmly, "Ravi, your crops grow while ours fail. Tell us, what are you doing differently?" Ravi smiled carefully. "I rise early, I water the plants, and I care for the soil with patience. That is all." But his answer did not satisfy them. Another farmer shook his head. "We also work hard, yet our land does not give like yours. There must be something more." Ravi felt uneasy. He wanted to help, but he also remembered the elder's warning. The secret beneath the tree was not something to be spoken of lightly. If others discovered the hidden chamber, it might bring danger or greed. That evening he visited Hari, the elder, once again. Ravi explained how the villagers were pressing him for answers. The old man listened quietly, his eyes thoughtful. "You must remain patient," Hari advised. "Do not reveal the chamber or the key. If others find out, they may not see it as a gift to protect, but as a treasure to take. Continue your work and share kindness where you can, but guard the secret." Ravi nodded, though the weight in his heart grew heavier. He wanted to trust his neighbors, but deep inside he feared what might happen if too many knew. The next morning, while walking to the old tree, Ravi noticed something strange. The ground around the roots seemed to glow faintly, almost invisible in daylight but still noticeable to his eyes. When he placed his hand on the bark, he felt a gentle warmth flow into his fingers. The tree seemed alive in a way he could no longer ignore. Suddenly, he remembered the parchment with the drawing of the tree and the symbol of the key. The hidden chamber and the surface above were connected, and perhaps the tree was the bridge between them. Ravi realized that protecting the tree was as important as protecting the key itself. Later that week, the whispers in the village grew louder. Some villagers suggested that they should all come together and search Ravi's farm to discover his secret. Ravi heard this talk in the marketplace, and though no one spoke to him directly, he felt the change in the air. People no longer looked at him only with respect. Some looked with suspicion and others with envy. One night, Ravi sat outside near the old tree, holding the glowing key in his hand. The stars above shone brightly and the wind moved softly through the branches. He whispered, "What should I do? How can I protect this without hurting the trust of my people?" As if in answer, the key glowed brighter for a moment. Ravi closed his eyes and felt the calm voice from the chamber echo faintly in his thoughts again. "The land must be shared, but the secret must be guarded," the voice seemed to say. The words filled him with a new understanding. Perhaps he could not reveal the hidden chamber, but he could still help his neighbors in other ways. If the land around his farm had become stronger, maybe he could share seeds or water to ease their burden. The next day, Ravi began to give away small parts of his harvest to families in need. He also offered water from his pond, which remained full even during the dry season. The villagers were grateful, but their curiosity did not fade. Some wondered why his pond never dried and why his soil remained rich. One evening, as the sun set, Ravi noticed two villagers walking around his farm when they thought no one was watching. They bent low, pressing the soil in their hands as if trying to find what made it different. Ravi stood silently at a distance, his heart heavy. He knew this was only the beginning. The secret he had uncovered was powerful, and the changes in his land could not be hidden forever. He would soon have to make a choice. Should he trust his neighbors with the truth, or keep the mystery buried under the tree, guarded by the key and the silent voice of the chamber? That night, as Ravi closed the box around the key and papers, he felt the promise he had made to himself grow stronger. Whatever happened, he would protect the secret, even if it meant standing alone. Ravi's days no longer felt the same. Each time he stepped into his fields, he felt proud of the healthy crops and grateful for the fertile soil, yet his heart carried a heavy weight. The whispers in the village had grown stronger. People were no longer just curious. Some were impatient, others were doubtful. One morning, while he worked near the pond, 3 farmers came to him. They spoke politely, but their tone carried pressure. "Ravi," one of them said, "we see your land thrive while ours struggles. We cannot wait any longer. If you know something that can help us, you must share it." Ravi wiped the sweat from his brow. "I care for my land as I always have. I rise early, I water the plants, and I trust the soil." The farmers exchanged looks. "That cannot be all. If you keep this secret to yourself, it is unfair to the rest of us." Ravi felt their words pierce him like sharp stones. He wanted to tell them the truth, but the memory of the glowing chamber and the elder's warning held him back. "I give water from my pond, I share seeds, and I share my harvest. "That is all I can do," he said softly. The farmers left, but their eyes carried doubt. Ravi watched them go, feeling the ground beneath him steady but his heart unsteady. Later that day, he visited Hari, the village elder, once more. The old man sat outside his hut, leaning on a wooden stick, his gaze thoughtful as always. Ravi explained what had happened with the farmers. Hari listened quietly before speaking. "The test has begun, Ravi. A gift is never simple. People will see it, and they will want it. Some will ask with kindness, others with demand. The question is not what they want, but what you must do. You must choose wisely." Ravi bowed his head. "But how can I keep such a secret when the whole village suffers? Am I not being selfish if I hide it?" The elder placed a hand on his shoulder. "You share your harvest, your water, and your kindness. That is not selfish. The deeper secret, the chamber and the key, is not yours alone to reveal. It belongs to the land, and the land has chosen you to guard it. If you reveal it too soon, you may lose not only the secret, but also the peace of the village." Ravi returned home with those words in his mind. That night he sat near the old tree, holding the glowing key in his hands. The wind whispered through the branches, and once again he felt the calm voice within his thoughts. Guard what is hidden, share what can be shared. When the time is right, the land will guide you. The words gave him strength, but they did not remove his worry. Days turned into weeks. Ravi continued to give from his farm. He shared grain with families who had little, and he allowed others to take water from his pond. Yet the mystery only grew larger in the eyes of the villagers. Some began to praise him as chosen by fate. Others grew suspicious, wondering if he was hiding something that could be theirs too. One evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the sky orange, Ravi found a group of villagers gathered near the edge of his farm. They were not angry, but their voices carried a firm demand. "Ravi," Meena said, stepping forward, "we respect you, but we cannot ignore what we see. If you have found something that makes your land so strong, we must all know. The whole village should benefit, not only you." The crowd murmured in agreement. Ravi looked at their faces. He saw hope, doubt, and a touch of envy. He felt trapped between truth and silence. His chest tightened, but he spoke slowly. "My friends, I cannot give you what I do not fully understand. My land has changed, yes, but I do not hold a secret potion or hidden trick. What I can give, I already give. Food, seeds, water. Beyond that, I can only ask you to trust me." The villagers exchanged uncertain glances. Some nodded, others frowned. The group slowly dispersed, leaving Ravi alone in the twilight. He leaned against the old tree, his hands gripping the bark. The pressure of trust weighed on him heavier than any work he had ever done. For the first time, Ravi wondered if he truly was strong enough to carry this responsibility. As the stars began to appear, he whispered a quiet promise. "I will not fail the land. I will not fail my people." The tree stood tall above him, silent yet powerful, as if listening to his vow. Weeks passed, and the villagers continued to watch Ravi's farm with quiet curiosity. Some began to respect the care he showed, while others still wondered why his crops thrived when theirs did not. Ravi continued his routine of tending the soil, giving water, and sharing the harvest with those in need. Yet he could not shake the feeling that the hidden chamber beneath the tree still held more for him to discover. One evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the sky in shades of pink and gold, Ravi decided to return to the chamber. He carried the glowing key and the old box with him, moving carefully across the soft soil near the tree. The night was calm, the stars reflected in the pond, and the air was filled with a gentle coolness. He placed the key in the hollow once again. The wall shifted silently, revealing the passageway. Ravi descended the stairs slowly, lantern in hand. The air grew cooler, and the hum he had once heard faintly returned. He reached the circular chamber with the floating crystal, and his eyes fell on the stone table. This time something caught his attention immediately. One of the stone discs he had not touched before began to glow faintly, responding to the key in his hand. Curious, Ravi lifted the disc. It was heavier than it seemed, and etched on its surface were symbols similar to those on the parchment. He pressed it lightly on the table, and the crystal above shimmered brighter. Slowly, a section of the wall behind the table began to shift. A small hidden compartment opened, revealing another set of parchments and a small object wrapped in cloth. Ravi carefully unwrapped the object. It was a small globe, smooth and polished, with tiny lines engraved all over it. When he held it in his hands, it glowed softly, responding to the key. He realized that the chamber was teaching him. guiding him to understand the land and its connection to the world around him. The new parchments were filled with drawings more detailed than the previous ones. They showed rivers, mountains, and trees, as well as symbols that matched the key and the globe. Ravi studied them closely. He felt as if the earth itself was speaking through these drawings, showing him patterns of growth and balance. Suddenly the crystal's glow brightened, and the familiar, calm voice filled the chamber again. "You have learned patience and care. Now the villagers will begin to see the truth of your work. The gift is not only for you, but for all who respect the land." Ravi's heart raced. Could this be the moment when the village would understand? He carefully placed the globe on the table and watched as the light spread across the chamber. The patterns on the wall shifted to resemble his farm above. He realized the chamber connected the underground world with the surface, guiding the flow of energy through the land. The next morning, Ravi returned to his fields. He noticed something new. The villagers who had often watched him from a distance now came closer. They were calm and respectful, asking questions about how he cared for his soil and crops. Ravi shared small tips about planting, watering, and observing the land carefully. He did not reveal the chamber, but he saw that they began to understand the importance of patience and care. Children played near the tree, observing the growth of plants and learning from Ravi's methods. Even animals seemed to gather more peacefully, and the crops continued to thrive. Ravi felt a quiet satisfaction. The villagers' curiosity had changed into respect, and the pressure he had felt for weeks began to ease. That night, Ravi returned to the chamber one last time before closing it for the day. He placed the globe back in its compartment and the key in its hollow. The crystal glowed softly, as if approving of his care and patience. The chamber seemed calm, peaceful, and alive with silent energy. As he climbed back to the surface, Ravi looked up at the old tree. Its branches swayed gently in the night wind, and for the first time, he felt a true connection with it. He realized that the tree, the chamber, the key, and the land were all part of something larger. His life had changed, and the land around him had grown stronger, not because of magic, but because of care, patience, and understanding. Ravi smiled, feeling a quiet joy in his heart. He knew the secret beneath the tree was still powerful, but it no longer weighed heavily on him. Instead, it guided him and taught him how to live in harmony with the earth and share that harmony with others. Days turned into weeks, and the change on Ravi's farm became more noticeable to the village. The crops grew taller, the soil remained fertile, and the pond never dried. Ravi continued his careful work, rising early, watering the fields, and tending to every plant with patience. The villagers, once curious and doubtful, began to understand the lessons Ravi shared. He never spoke of the hidden chamber or the glowing key, but he taught them simple practices. He showed them how to observe the soil, care for plants, and treat animals with respect. Slowly, they learned that the land responded not to shortcuts, but to care and patience. One morning, Ravi noticed Meena walking toward his farm with a basket. She smiled and greeted him warmly. "Ravi, we have been following your advice, and the crops in our small fields are growing better too." "Thank you for helping us," Ravi nodded, pleased. "The land gives what it can. Care for it, and it will care for you." Word spread, and soon the village began to work together more. Farmers shared tips and helped one another. Children learned to plant seeds and water the soil. The community grew closer, not because of any hidden secret, but because of the care and respect for the land that Ravi had quietly shown them. At night, Ravi often sat under the old tree holding the glowing key. He thought about the hidden chamber and the lessons it had taught him. The crystal, the stone discs, the globe, and the parchments were all part of a bigger truth. It was not power or wealth, but understanding, patience, and harmony. One evening, the calm voice of the chamber echoed softly in his mind again. "You have learned well. You have shared what can be shared. The land and the people will grow together." Ravi smiled, feeling a warmth in his heart. The land had chosen him not to hold power, but to guide it with care. The chamber remained a secret, a quiet place beneath the old tree, waiting for the next person who might need its lessons. Over time, Ravi noticed other small changes around his farm. Flowers bloomed in patterns he had never planted. Animals moved peacefully through the fields, and even the wind seemed gentle as it brushed past the crops. The land itself had become alive with harmony. The villagers began to see Ravi differently. They respected him not because he had a secret, but because of his patience, kindness, and wisdom. Families came together to work their fields. Children played near the trees, and the community became closer than ever. Ravi's life, once simple and quiet, was now full of meaning and purpose. One morning, as the sun rose over the village, Ravi walked through his fields. He touched the soft soil, admired the tall crops, and smiled at the animals gathering near the pond. He knew that the secret beneath the tree had changed his life, but even more, it had taught him how to live in balance with the world around him. The old tree stood tall, its branches reaching for the sky. Beneath it, the hidden chamber remained calm and silent, holding its mystery safely. Ravi did not fear the secret any longer. He understood that its true power lay in the lessons it taught, not in the things it could give. As Ravi looked across his thriving farm, he felt peace. The villagers worked together. The land was strong and life had grown better for everyone. The hidden chamber had given him knowledge and understanding, and he had shared the most important part of it without revealing the full secret. Ravi whispered softly to the tree, "I will care for this land and I will help others care too. That is what matters." The wind rustled gently through the leaves as if answering him, and the stars began to appear above. The village slept peacefully, unaware of the quiet magic beneath the old tree, yet feeling its gentle influence in the harmony of the land and the life they shared. Ravi sat back, looking at the glowing key on the table nearby. The secret remained safe, the lessons were learned, and his life had changed forever. He had discovered that true power was not in wealth or knowledge alone, but in patience, care, and the quiet strength to protect what was precious. The tree, the chamber, the key, and the land all stood together, connected in a balance that would last for years. Ravi smiled, feeling grateful, knowing that life, like the soil, grew best when nurtured with respect and love. The sun rose higher. The crops swayed gently and Ravi's farm thrived, a living proof of the harmony between the earth and the one who tended it with a gentle heart.